Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Looking at MLK Day slate here with 6 games on Monday in the NBA. I've got a couple bets on the card and plenty of looks right now with plenty of news still to come out here on Monday with these injuries and teams that have their entire lineups currently questionable, such as the Clippers. So we'll need to take a look at that stuff in the morning, but we're going to do the live show nice and early so we can get to these games that are cycling throughout the day. A little bit of a weird schedule on Monday with the Martin Luther King holiday here. So 1 p.m. Eastern is going to be the live show on Monday. So make sure you're tuning in early. You got the day off. Hopefully you're into it. Otherwise, you can just turn us on there, put on closed captionings, whatever you got to do. But let's go ahead and get into the looks that we've got here for Monday. Didn't have any bet on the card for Sunday. Actually took the day off when I was looking at that slate. It was gross. There was so much weirdness, ton of blowouts, which all came to fruition. So glad I stayed away, to be honest. But did have a really nice day on Saturday. So I still do have a couple codes left. I added 3 more, to be fair, to this code over 40 here. So if you want to get 40% off your first month in the VIP, not miss any of the bets that are coming out on weird slates like tomorrow, where they're going to be up to the date. I'm going to be having stuff coming out all day about 30 minutes before tip, because that's when we'll get the injury and lineup news that we need. So if you do want to make sure you're not missing any of that stuff, you can get a first month 40% off. If you do use code over 40, got 3 more of those in there for you guys. But let's get here into the Monday slate. As always, going to be using propsmadness.com. And if you do want to get in on the action using the best tool around for everything you need, finding the best value in the NBA, you can use promo code LYB. That'll get you 25% off your first month. And you can also use a free trial for 7 days to see how you do like things with it. Using it on the live show every day. Also going to be putting it in these episodes with you guys here. And let's kick things off with the 6-game slate. Just talking about a pick that I do like a ton. And it's in this Knicks game here. And it's Trae Young. And it shouldn't really surprise anybody. This is still 9.5 on the assists. And I mean, if you just want to talk about Trae, simply let's just look at this season to start, and we can get back to last season as well. If we scroll down here, we can see head-to-head 10 dimes and 11 dimes, had 21 potential assists in that first game in the beginning of November, and then 15 potentials in the second one here. 35, 36 minutes. We know he's going to be up around that again in this game. And I'm not a big fan of this Knicks defense in a way that I would think they're going to limit assists that well. They are 9th best limiting assists on the season. But this is Trae Young, and this is something he's done to them forever now. If you go back to last season in the head-to-head, he played 2 games against them then. 12 assists, 17 assists. Also 35, 34 minutes. The potential assists, 17 and 19. So he's averaging 18 potential assists, 12 assists per game over the course of the last roughly 5, including the season prior as well in the last game they played. So he owns, he loves playing the Knicks. This is Trae at the Garden. He loves being the bad guy at the Garden. So I don't know why this is 9.5. And it's something that makes me go, am I missing something? Or can I get a better price tomorrow? Maybe this goes down a little bit. If people want to bet the under at plus money, maybe I can get the 9.5 at minus 120. So I'm going to see what the market pressure does to Trae Young and the dimes, but I'm willing to take this at 10.5. So if that's all you have in the morning when you're watching this episode, I'd still take this up to 10.5, like minus 120 is where I'd feel good going over on Trae Young assists. As far as the Knicks go, I can't do much with them when Karl Anthony Towns and Josh Hart are both questionable to play tomorrow as of right now on Sunday night as I'm recording this. I will say the same thing is true for this Memphis and Minnesota game. Not much I can do with the fact that Ja Morant is questionable. He's obviously the most important player on the Memphis Grizzlies. So until we know if Ja is playing, I can't really touch that. And I don't really want to bet on much Minnesota stuff right now. With Dante DiVincenzo out, we'll come back to that on the live show for sure, since we'll be able to get to that game before it tips. But I do have one more bet that I at least want to share with you before we get to another couple looks. And then another bet. Do have 2 bets officially on the card here. And the one from the Suns and the Cavs game is for the newest Sun, Nick Richards, who had a awesome performance in his first game with the Suns here. 21 points against the Pistons. He also had the 11 boards on 23 rebound chances in 29 minutes of action on the floor for the Suns. Came off the bench in that game too. I know this isn't the best matchup for Nick Richards because the Cavs are a very good team down low. They're 12th best limiting rebounds to everybody on the other team. So they're good. And obviously we know they're one of the best teams in the league. But they're going to be without Evan Mobley. That's number 1. Number 2, there's the chance that Nick Richards starts. And even if he doesn't, what was made very clear from the beginning by head coach Mike Budenholzer from the Suns was that when Nick Richards, as soon as they traded for him, they said when he's available to play and is up to speed, even a little bit, he's getting in the game. He's going to play a ton of minutes. And he played 29 in his first game with the squad, right? So we know he's probably going to only see that number at least stay consistent at about 29, 30, 32 minutes, and it's not really going to go much down below that. So what really concerns me about Nick is what happens when he plays a good amount of minutes. And if we take these advanced filters on Props Madness, I can say the minimum amount of minutes I want to know that he's played is 25. So I'm going to 25 to see what's happened in all the games where he's played at least 25 minutes. And as far as the points go, he's averaging 11.3, or excuse me, this is the rebounds, averaging 11.3 over in 7 of 9 games in that time frame here. And this is mostly right with the Charlotte Hornets. So it's a little bit different, but not really, because if anything, he's just got more talent around him to help him succeed more on the Suns. And Jared Allen or not, I think Nick Richards is a great bet in this one. We're talking in the VIP chat about taking him for plus money on a double-double as well, about 240 there for that. But the boards really enticed me a ton about Richards. So I ended up taking, to be clear, the points and rebounds combined. I got this at 18.5, and you can still do that. Minus 115 on Bet365. I mean, that's probably worth a small ladder play as well if you have that available to you on books like DraftKings to take an alt points and rebounds combo line, or what if you want to take the double-double at plus 240. I'm going to be betting on Nick Richards strictly based on volume here. He's good enough that when he gets the 25-plus minutes this season, he's at 26.6 points and rebounds combined. Don't have a bet yet on the card for this Mavericks and Hornets game, and this one's going to start early. But if you're getting to this episode before the game starts, 12 p.m. Eastern is the tip here in this one. I mean, we got to talk about Mark Williams. And really what I want to look at here is pull up Fantasy Labs, which is a site that you've seen me use before to show you on off-court stuff, because Brandon Miller is going to be out. We know Nick Richards is not on the team anymore. Grant Williams is also going to be out. So Mark Williams and Miles Bridges are the two guys that I really wanted to know what happens when they play together, because they're both starting now. Miles is getting 36 plus minutes. Mark Williams still good for about 30 to 32 right now, which we'll see how long he can last doing that. But what this helps me see is what's happened this season when these two have been on the court together without the guys that we know they're going to be missing. And if we just look at rebounds, Mark Williams is at 15.56. So basically 15.6 rebounds per 36 minutes, which really comes out to him getting about 13 and a half, 14 rebounds when he plays about 30 minutes in these games. I mean, it's hard to ignore that, even at a rebound prop, which is very high for him now. It's up at 12 and a half. You can still get plus money. I'd like to see if this gets down to 11 and a half before I just start going in on it. I think 12 and a half is where this should be at the highest point. And now we're paying a bit of a premium. Last game, we got Mark Williams 27 and a half points and rebounds for good money. Now it's at 28 and a half opening, and we'll probably get bet up as well. So 27 and a half, if it's available, is what I would like to take for Mark Williams, but I can't get much higher than that. Thing is, I will say, if we're looking at the way that this looks against the Dallas Mavericks, who they're going up against, and Derek Lively is questionable right now, so we don't know if he's going to play or not. But the Mavs are not as good against centers as you might think with the combo of centers that they have. If we look at rebounds alone, they are like 11th worst, essentially, limiting rebounds to the opposing centers. They're actually a bit worse against power forwards as well. If we go down here, they're giving up the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th most rebounds to power forwards on the season. And that's why I also brought this up from the standpoint of Miles Bridges, because if we look at Bridges here on the season and we look at his boards, he's at 8.5 rebound per 36 when he's playing with Mark Williams. And he's not always on the floor with Mark Williams at the same time, but he is going to be out there for a solid, 18, 16 minutes with Mark Williams, like half the time that he's on the floor at least, he'll be playing with Mark Williams. So 8.5 rebounds, and even in a good matchup, it's a good look for Miles Bridges on the boards, but I still can't. 7.5 for me is not enough of an edge. Just because he's at about 8.5 rebounds when he plays with all the guys that he's going to be playing with tonight isn't really enough of an edge for me to go, yeah, I'll take over 7.5 or minus 125. It's not worth the squeeze, essentially, right? Like, because even if I do get the juice out of this, it's not really a great return, right? 7.5 boards, minus 125. You put $100 down, you win 80. That's not worth it to me for a bet that's a little bit closer to 50-50 than this might indicate. So I'm staying away from Miles Bridges. Mark Williams, I'm going to revisit in the morning before this game tips and put that into the VIP Discord. But because this game will already have tipped by the time we get to the live show, obviously not going to be able to get to it. Quick reminder, give that video a like as we get to this game here for the Jazz and the Pellies in New Orleans. And minutes before I started recording this, Zion Williamson was listed questionable, which is just death taxes and Zion Williamson with a questionable tag right now. So we don't know if he's going to play. But I do love a bet on the other side who is maybe my new favorite player in the NBA. And this is on my card. It is Isaiah Collier and his numbers here, because I got 7.5 at plus 125 on FanDuel for his assists. And I took for him to get 10 plus at plus 350 on Bet365. So I'm laddering these dimes for him to get the double-double essentially, but I'm not taking the points. I think he's very capable of getting it. Last game, he only had 8, and he had the 11 assists versus the Pelicans, and this is one of those back-to-backers against the same opponent. And if you look at these dimes here for him, yes, once in the last 6 games, he failed to get 8. That was against the Nets. They won that game by 1 point. He played 37 minutes. Whatever, right? Didn't get there on that one. I'm fine with that. He's gone over in 5 of 6 rather in these last 6 games. He was in the starting lineup, but now he's out, and I still don't care. The thing that I wanted to look at with you guys with Isaiah Collier is if you look at the last 6 games for him, he is just so clearly far and away the point guard of this team. So what I pulled up here is player tracking data on NBA Advanced Stats, really easy to find, players tracking and passing. And I'm looking at the last 5 games for this team where he's started 4 of these last 5, but he's leading the team in potential assists with 14 per game. And usually what I say is when you have a potential assist number, you expect about 50 to 55% of those potential assists to turn into regular assists, right? He's at a pretty high percentage for sure. But what we're going to see in this game is Walker Kessler back for Utah. And so a good number of these assists are going to Kessler in the paint down low where he can dunk on Yves Missy all day. If you look at where this team is weakest for the New Orleans Pelicans, I'm going to scroll down to the shot chart here. You can see opponent defense. They are 29th. Limiting points in the paint and specifically in the restricted area here right next to the basket, which is where Collier is doing the bulk of his damage, getting into the lane. And now he's got Kessler back in there to lob the ball up to. So I love the fact that he's still the point guard, right? Going back to this, he's making the most passes. He's also got the most passes received. So I always talk about how passes made is an indication of who the point guard is. Passes received is also an indication of who the point guard is because the point guard tries to get the action going, passes it out to the wing. If it's not there, there's nothing there. The ball comes right back to him, and now he can reset the offense and do more whatever the next play is for him, right? So passes received also the highest on the squad in the last 5, and that includes 4 games with Colin Sexton and 2 of them with Keontae George. So he's still playing with these other starting guards. He didn't even start last game, still saw 30 minutes and still got the 11 dimes for us. So love the assists in this game for him. I think rebounds and assists is another easy go-to as well. He's only gone under 11.5 once against the Suns in that game, and you can still get 10.5 on the rebounds and assists because he's an awesome rebounding guard as well. So I'm going to keep coming back to Collier. We still have a ton of value on him and a ladder play for him as well. So hopefully that hits for us here on this night. And if you don't know Collier, you better get to know him. All right, a couple last reminders. If you do want to jump into the VIP, get all these plays, especially for that Charlotte and Dallas game, which tips off really early, then go ahead and jump into the VIP. You can get 40% off your first month if you do use code OVER40. Added 3 more of those from the last show, so you guys can still get in. And don't forget that we do have the live at 1 p.m. Eastern, so we can go over the bets for the day. Hopefully we'll have at least a bit more info about all these teams and the rotation and injury news. So hope to see you guys there, 1 p.m. Eastern. And until I do, happy betting.